By the end of this video, your brain will be different. Not dramatically, but measurably. It will either become a little sharper, or you will understand how it becomes weaker. Today, we're talking about neuroplasticity, an overlooked truth. You think you are living your life using your brain, but in reality, you are building it. And this is not a metaphor, it is biology. When you scroll on your phone, your brain changes. When you focus on reading, your brain changes. When you avoid something difficult, your brain changes. When you face something challenging, your brain changes. Your behavior today is shaping the structure of your brain tomorrow. So the real question is not, am I smart? The real question is, what am I training myself to become? Before we go further, let me ask you two things. Is your brain controlling your behavior, or is your behavior shaping your brain? And have you ever had a year where something just clicked? A subject suddenly made sense, a skill suddenly felt effortless? You call that growth? Neuroscience calls it structural change. Before we talk about how to change the brain, let's begin with three common myths about the brain. There are three common misunderstandings about how the brain works. First, intelligence is not fixed. People say, oh, he's talented, or I'm just not built for this. But the brain is not fixed hardware. It is a system that updates through use. Many people were average students early in life. Years later, through long-term repetition, they became top lawyers, engineers, investors. They did not suddenly become smarter. Their neural structure changed. Intelligence is not a trait. It is a pathway. Second, the brain does not stop changing in adulthood. We used to believe development ended in childhood. Now we know that is false. People switch careers at 30, at 40, at 50. At first, they struggle. Years later, they operate at high levels. What stops change is not age, it is repetition. Third, many people assume that if they are not deliberately improving, at least they are maintaining. That assumption is wrong. If you spend 3 hours a day scrolling short videos, that is not rest. It is training. You are training shorter attention. You are training dependence on instant reward. The brain does not stay unchanged. It adapts. You are either building something or eroding something. Now let's move into the three levels of how the brain changes. Brain change happens in layers: chemical, structural, functional. Let's start with the fastest. Chemical change. When you cram before an exam, when you study intensely for hours, chemical signals between neurons increase. You feel sharper, more alert, more capable, but 2 days later, much of it fades. Because the wiring did not change, only the signal was amplified. It is like turning up the brightness without upgrading the circuitry. Short-term intensity is not long-term transformation. Now we go deeper. Structural change. This is where real ability forms. When a behavior is repeated long enough, connections multiply. Pathways thicken, reactions speed up. Think about a basketball player. At first, the shot feels awkward. Years later, the body moves automatically. That is not talent appearing. That is structure being rebuilt. The same is true for pianists, surgeons, pilots. Long-term repetition does not just improve performance, it rewires the system. When structure changes, skill becomes instinct. But here is something important. Not every brain rewires at the same speed. Some people learn programming in months, others struggle for years. That does not mean one is smarter. Some brains build certain pathways faster, others take longer. Slow does not mean impossible, it means the construction site looks different. Now we reach the deepest layer. Functional change. This is not just stronger wiring. This is reallocation. The brain has limited resources. It distributes them according to demand. Professional athletes develop extraordinary reaction speed. Not because they were born different, because they demanded that ability every day. High-frequency traders, esports competitors, real-time data analysts. Their brains become faster at rapid decision-making, not talent. Density of repetition. Now consider something closer to everyday life. Long-term immersion in social media, constant novelty, constant refresh. Dopamine pathways become more sensitive, instant feedback becomes more rewarding. But deep focus circuits? They weaken from underuse. This is not about discipline, it is about allocation. If you repeatedly demand speed, your brain builds speed. If you repeatedly demand depth, your brain builds depth. Your brain is like a company with limited budget. Departments that receive orders expand, departments that do not shrink. So the real question is not, do I have talent? It is, what am I consistently demanding from my brain? Functional change is not improvement, it is reorganization. Neuroplasticity sounds inspiring, it feels empowering, but plasticity comes with a cost. There is a darker side to it. It strengthens repetition, not intention. Repeat focus, focus grows, repeat avoidance, avoidance grows, repeat anxiety, anxiety grows, repeat distraction, distraction grows. The brain sides with frequency, not ideals. In modern life, constant notifications, short videos, endless scrolling. At first, it feels harmless. Over time, the brain adapts. Frequent context switching makes sustained focus harder. Not because you are weak, because circuits were reassigned. Addiction works the same way. Nicotine, alcohol, gambling, digital stimulation, dopamine pathways become optimized for speed. Slow reward systems weaken. Eventually, it feels like loss of control. But often, it is optimized structure. And here is the unsettling truth. There is no maintenance mode. If you stop training something, it weakens. Stop reading deeply, analysis slows, stop exercising, coordination declines, stop solving complex problems, reasoning dulls. Resources are always shifting, plasticity is neutral, and neutrality can be harsher than cruelty because it will not correct you, it will only accelerate you in the direction you repeat. The real awakening is not, can I become smarter? It is, what am I becoming? Your brain is under construction every day. The question is not whether it changes, it is home. A deeper question, if behavior shapes the brain, and the brain shapes behavior. Who are you? Are you the product or the builder? Neuroscience suggests something profound. Identity is repetition. You are not naturally disciplined, or you are repeatedly disciplined, or you are not naturally distracted. You are repeatedly distracted. What we call destiny may simply be reinforced pathways. You do not act because of who you become who you are because of how you repeatedly act. Decisive question. So the decisive question is not, do I have talent? It is, what am I training every single day? Train deep thinking, and years later, your mind will feel different. Train shallow stimulation, and attention will shrink. Train emotional regulation, stability grows. Train anxiety. Anxiety becomes default. You cannot stop changing, you can only choose direction. You are not using your brain to live, you are building it. Like tomorrow's version of you is already under construction, that the only question left is, what are you going to repeat?